Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, as you can probably already tell, we're not going to be going over any cars. Instead, we've got some muscle cars of the sky, if you will. Definitely a lot of horsepower, but yeah, we're going to cover some World War II aircraft in today's video. These are all from Johnny Lightning, so we're not straying too far from what I normally collect, but these are part of their greatest generation military series. Lot of really cool stuff to go over. Some of the most common aircraft of World War II. You know, some of the most popular and most well-known. Several different variations. So we'll start off naming some stuff off here. We've got two P-47s, a version A and a version B. Version A being an undamaged, version B having some battle damage on it. So that's kind of neat. We've got two P-51s, D-Day invasion variation and a Pacific Theater variation. Very cool. Two P-40s. Now, these are part of the Should Have Seen It in Color series. So what's going on here is basically you have, this is what the plane would look like, the actual colorations, and then this would be a black and white variation. So we'll go over that a little more when I open those two up. And then down here we do have another P-40 with a different paint scheme and an F4U 1A Corsair. So let's get these things opened up and in the air, I guess you could say. I'll be honest, this glare here off these boxes is kind of killing me. So I'm going to move some of these guys over. And we'll start off with our P-47s here. The two Razorback, Thunderbolt Razorback. Yeah, I know them as just the P-47 Thunderbolt, but the Razorback was another nickname for them. So let's get those guys opened up. We're not going to be able to put them on the lift, but fortunately we do get these little stands to hold them up on, so that's pretty neat. And just so you guys know, I do have some notes over here, just like some specification notes, because I want to make sure I get everything, you know, kind of right with these. So if it sounds like I'm reading off a note card, it's because I am. So let's get these guys cracked open. All right, guys, so we're going to try something a little different here. I do have you sitting on the lamp, or I have the plane sitting on the lamp. So this is the Caribbean Traveler. He is part of, as you can see down here, the 350th Fighter Squadron, if we could focus on that. There we go, 350th Fighter Squadron. Oh, I'm turning the light out. You know what? Let's reposition here. All right, that's better. Yeah, I don't have my lift, so I'm a little discombobulated right now. Things are different. So two examples of obviously a fresh new paint job and a post-battle paint job. We do have rotating propellers on both aircraft. That's a very cool detail. Something I noticed right away about this battle damage guy, it looks as though his D-Day stripes back here are, the decal was not fully finished. It doesn't exactly look like it lines up with the battle damage. I mean, you can see on the wing here, it looks like he got raked by machine gun fire. You have, you know, burn areas from the 450 caliber machine guns, wing-mounted machine guns firing. Over here on the left, there's it looks a little scorched, like maybe he flew through some flak or something. But that doesn't exactly look like battle damage. It is very cool to see kind of a weathering effect, you know. Usually if you want to weather a die cast, you have to do it yourself, but it is very cool to see it done out of the box. Yeah, Caribbean Traveler. So we'll go ahead and slide over our fresh one here. So the P-47, this is the Thunderbolt 1, if you will, the predecessor to the Thunderbolt 2, the A-10. This was the original tank buster, like I said, 450 caliber machine guns. in each wing, so 8 in total. Extremely fast, extremely powerful airplane, capable of carrying huge armaments, huge amounts of bombs, unguided rockets, all kinds of nasty things to drop on the Germans. Over here I have my engine specs. So we had a Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp 18-cylinder radial engine, produced 2,600 horsepower. That is a lot of horsepower. Kind of a muscle car of the sky. But extremely awesome aircraft. And as I said before, these D-Day stripes, so these black and white stripes on the wings and tail here, these were painted on Allied aircraft during the D-Day invasion to help differentiate them between, you know, friendly and enemy aircraft. If you saw these stripes on the wings, you knew you were underneath a friendly aircraft. As you can see, they do wrap around to the bottoms of the wings. Another interesting thing about these models here is they are held together with screws as opposed to rivets, so I could take these apart if I so chose to. And then there's our production date on the tail wing there. Focus. Looks like 6/22/2018. So yes, these are a bit of an older release, these two aircraft. I did find these on eBay. So we'll go ahead and take a look at our cards here. We have a version A and a version B. They actually have, it looks to be the same fun facts on them. So we'll just take a look at one. It says, known as the Flying Tank, the durable P-47 was one of the heaviest single-engine aircraft of World War II. Yes, the Flying Tank. There's a lot of stories that I've heard and read about P-47s literally getting shot to pieces and then just flying home like nothing happened. P-47s were fighter bombers and took immediate air superiority over the English Channel in the pre-dawn hours of D-Day. Yeah, these things went over and absolutely decimated the Luftwaffe, along with, you know, many other famous aircraft of World War II. I wish these propellers spun more freely. They do rotate, but they don't spin, you know. Here, we'll take a look at the back of the card as well. This should show you, so these aren't just airplane series. What these are is each plane is part of one of these releases with, like, you've got a half-track, little, you know, general's vehicle or whatever, words, what are words? What is that called? A meat wagon, tanks, different stuff like that. And basically the reason I'm only going after the airplanes is because the scaling of this stuff would not match up with anything else in my collection. I mean, look at the size of, you know, a tank compared to a little Volkswagen thing. What is that? That is German Kubelwagen. Yeah, the German Kubelwagen is the same size as the Panther tank. So, I mean, the scaling with the rest of the military stuff is a little I'm on about it. But the airplanes are really cool. I actually don't have either of these. These are the Kitty Hawks. These are British variations of the P-40 Warhawk. I don't have any British stuff today. I have all American aircraft. There are, like I said, there's a few British variations of the P-40, and then there's also a Spitfire, a British Spitfire. I did not get the Spitfire either because I just, you know, British stuff is cool, but we like our American stuff here on this channel. So once again, these are our two P-47s, well, two variations of the same P-47, you know, pre and post battle, part of the 350th Fighter Squadron. Absolutely beautiful looking aircraft. Absolutely love it. And I am making a separate shelf for all of my Johnny Lightning airplanes. So, and depending, I mean, you know, let me know, guys. If you like these planes and you like seeing planes, we can certainly add more to the collection. So I am going to fly these up to their new shelf, and we will move right into our next two planes. All right, next up in the hangar, we've got these two P-40 Warhawks. One is in color, one is in black and white. So I'll explain what I mean by that once I get them out of the box. All right, so here are our two P40 Warhawks. So what I was talking about earlier with one being in color, one being in black and white, if you take a look at the cards here, can you see that? Yeah, it says, wait. Should have seen it in color is the name of this series. And basically what they do is they give you two variations of the same vehicle, one being painted as if it were in color, one being painted as if you were seeing it in a black and white film. Now, I wasn't too, like, super crazy about that, the idea of that. I thought that was kind of as an idea, but I saw the plane itself, and I just think it looks great in black and silver. The orange is cool, don't get me wrong, but the black and silver does look really nice. So first thing I want to address, these planes are part of, as you can see here, the 3th Fighter Grue. Every single one of these that I have found is part of the 3th Fighter Grue instead of the 13th Fighter Group, which I believe was the Army Air Corps it was called. So yeah, again, another little misprint there on the stands, but again, quite all right. Let's move these in a little closer so we can focus on them. Again, very, very nice looking planes. This guy does have a bit more of a free spinning propeller, whereas this guy does not so much, but again, they don't actually have to fly, so very, very nice models though. We'll go ahead and give a 360 view of this guy here. The orange and black and silver does look very cool. Very nice looking aircraft. So I believe these were 30 caliber machine guns. I believe these had 6 30 caliber machine guns, although later variations may have been equipped with 50 cals. I could be mistaken about that. If you know your planes, leave a comment. But yeah, what a nice looking plane. So the P-40 was a bit of a controversial aircraft in World War II. Some people loved it, some people hated it. It was, it didn't quite perform as well as a lot of the enemy aircraft that it would find in the sky between the Germans and the Japanese, Japanese Zeros and things of that nature. Its performance wasn't quite up to par with a lot of enemy aircraft, but there was a lot of them. There were a lot of P-40s. They could take a punishment. They were reliable. They could really take a beating. But, so a lot of pilots loved them for their durability. A lot of pilots disliked them because of their lack of performance. It was... But the fact of the matter is the P-40 was really the backbone of the Allied air power in World War II. A lot of missions flown with these aircraft. I'm actually starting to notice something here. If you look, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell on camera, but this in color P-40 is actually painted silver, whereas this one is just polished bare metal with clear coat over it. So that's pretty cool. That's an interesting little detail to differentiate the two there. Yeah, I really do like this black and white one. I almost like it better than the orange, honestly. Very sharp looking aircraft. Absolutely beautiful. So again, our cards are... Do we have the same facts? Yeah, same facts for both of our cards. So we'll just go over the one here. It says this P-40... this one, and this one, technically, was flown by Major Ben Preston, commanding officer of the 13th Fighter Group, or 3th Fighter Grue, as we know it. His plane was natural metal with orange and black marking on the nose. The stripes beneath the cockpit indicated the pilot's rank, which was Major. So these would be his Major stripes. right here beneath the cockpit. Very interesting. I didn't actually know that. Quick look at the back of the card here for you guys. It says all new resin displays for making dioramas for your Johnny Lightning military stuff. And then these are the rest of the vehicles in this series. We've got an MB, Dodge WC-54, Panther, Sherman, Half-Track, and then the P-40. So, like I said, my only real interest when it comes to Johnny Lightning military stuff, I'm only really interested in the aircraft, specifically the American aircraft. Ooh. And as I said, so we've got P-40s, P-47s, F4Us, P-51s today. There's one aircraft I wish Johnny Lightning made that I just have not been able to find. I guess they don't make one, and that is the P-38 Lightning. I would love to see a casting of the P-38 from Johnny Lightning, but I think for today these will certainly do. So I'm gonna go get these up to these two up on the shelf, and we will get into our next two planes. So real quick, I'm actually just going to do one plane real quick. We've got the other one over here in the holding pattern, our Corsair. I do have one more P-40 to show you. So this guy is actually a P-40E Warhawk. Slightly different variation than the two we just looked at, but I also realized that I didn't tell you anything about the engine specifications for the P-40. So the P-40 was equipped with the Allison V1710. That was a liquid-cooled V12 with 1,040 horsepower. So, like I said, 1,040 horsepower, although that's a lot of horsepower, not really comparable to the P-47's 2,600 and, you know, other aircraft. This was a little on the slower side, the P-40s. But nonetheless, a very cool aircraft. The variation we have here does, what is this? 11th Fighter Squadron, part of the U.S. Army Air Corps. Not to be confused, so very common, the mouth on the front of the P-40. This is not a Flying Tiger. So real quick, the Flying Tigers were a squadron of P-40s, but they were technically not American fighters. They weren't. It's a common misconception. Everybody thinks, you know, the P-40, I've even heard people call the P-40 the P-40 Flying Tiger. The Flying Tigers were a group of volunteer American pilots that went to China to fly for the Chinese Air Force to help defend against the Japanese Air Force that was, you know, tearing China apart. China basically didn't have much of an air force, so the U.S. basically gave them a bunch of P-40s and a bunch of pilots that knew how to fly them, and they went over and tore it up over there. The Flying Tigers are one of the most successful fighter squadrons of World War II. There's a great documentary about them, actually, on Amazon Prime that I just recently watched. But, yeah, not to be confused with this guy. This is not one of the Flying Tigers. This is just another P-40 that happens to have some kind of animal painted on the front. Very cool looking aircraft, though. I do like the OD green. Teeth on the front of anything looks cool, honestly. Take a quick peek underneath. I do want to show you. It does say U.S. Army on the wings beneath it. So, yeah, very, very cool aircraft. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the card for this guy, since this is part of the Greatest Generation. This is 2018 release number 1. Let's see. It says over 13,700 P-40 Warhawks were built from 1938 to 1944. Like I said, there was a lot of them. While all P-40s were officially designated Warhawk by the U.S. after 1941, the British used the name Tomahawk for the P-40B and C, and the name Kitty Hawk for the P-40D and higher variations. So yeah, like I said, we called them Warhawks. Everybody else had a different name for them. Yada, yada, yada. So let's go ahead and scoot this guy over real quick. That is a good looking airplane. That's really cool. And we'll go ahead and get our I almost called it a Corvette. Our Corsair opened up. All right, so here is our F4U 1A Corsair, an absolutely nasty, nasty aircraft. Um, Beautiful looking plane. This guy is a Marine Corps aircraft. The Marines flew Corsairs as well as the Navy. Um, yeah, very cool aircraft. So we have here, this one is the Mad Cossack, as you can see on his engine cowl there. It does say the, come on, baby. There we go. The Mad Cossack, as it says on his engine cowl there. Part of the United States Marine Corps VMF 512 Combat Air Patrol, Okinawa Prefecture, 1945. So this guy would have flown over Okinawa. Look at that big bomb underneath there. Wow, what an awesome looking aircraft. Unfortunately, this guy does seem to have a less than spinnable propeller. But again, quite all right, not a big deal. Very, very nice looking. The Corsair, another one of my personal favorites. One of the fastest aircraft of World War II. This was the first plane in World War II, or first American plane to break 400 miles per hour. It was powered by the same R2800 twin or double wasp 18-cylinder radial engine as the P47s. However, these guys only made about 2,000 horsepower as opposed to the P47's 2,600 horsepower. If you've ever been lucky enough to see a Corsair fly, they are an absolutely awesome plane to listen to. They sound incredible. They look incredible. Yeah, very nice aircraft. Let's see. We've got our battle facts here on our card. It says, let's see if we can get a nice view of that. There we go. The Corsair squadrons operating from U.S. flight decks would prove to be critical in combating aerial threats. Yes, the Corsair really brought the fight to the Japanese. For a while, the Japanese Zero was kind of feared by U.S. pilots. It was an extremely potent enemy aircraft, and at least from what I've read, you know, I could be... But once the Corsair was introduced, it really kind of leveled the playing field with the Zeros. It says, flying from aircraft carrier USS Gilbert Islands, the U.S. Marine Corps' VMF 512 squadron flew and strafed along the coast of Okinawa. So these guys were there for the invasion of Okinawa, ripping up the beaches and whatnot. Pretty cool stuff. So, two completely different aircraft here, but there is another P-40 and our F4U 1A Corsair. F4U 1A. Yes, I said that right. So, very, very cool stuff. Absolutely love it. You'll have to excuse the black spray paint on my hand. I'll give you two guesses as to what that's from. But yeah, some very, very nice aircraft there. So we'll go ahead and get these two up on the shelf with the rest of our old Greg's commemorative Air Force. All right, guys, of course we saved the best for last. One of my like all-time favorite aircrafts, the P-51D Mustang. This is the definitive fighter aircraft from World War II. If you mention World War II, the first thing that comes to mind is probably a P-51. So let's get these two beautiful variations of the aircraft out of the box. All right, here we go, guys. Two absolutely beautiful variations of the North American P-51D Mustang. On the right here with the blue nose cowl and D-Day stripes, we have the 49th Fighter Squadron. And on the left here with the green nose cowl, and you can see some burn marks from firing his machine guns all day. We have Anything Goes from the 458th Fighter Squadron from Iwo Jima in 1945. So this guy over here is Pacific Theater. And this guy over here would be the European Theater. Like I said, you know, the Mustang saw combat all over the world. probably the definitive fighter aircraft for, the Allies in World War II. An absolute monster in the skies. It was extremely fast, extremely powerful. 650 caliber machine guns, 3 mounted in each wing. This aircraft had a top speed of over 500 miles an hour. I believe it was one of the first aircraft to reach over 500 miles per hour. These were P-51D. These did not see action until later in the war. The earlier variations of the P-51, which had a cockpit more similar to, one second here, the P-40. So this style cockpit where you have kind of a wall behind your behind where you would sit, as opposed to the bubble cockpit of the P-51D. Extremely effective against enemies, enemy fighters, especially in the European front. There's, countless records of Mustangs just absolutely tearing up the skies, destroying the Luftwaffe. So because these two aircraft are from two very different releases, I believe this D-Day guy is from back in 2018, whereas the Pacific Theater Mustang here, this is a relatively recent release. This just came out a couple months ago. What is it? 2022 release number 1, this guy is, as you can see here. Here's some of the other stuff in this release. The Corsair that we just looked at is part of this 2022 release number 1. And then this is Anything Goes. Although this is a different paint scheme. This is a different variation, the checkerboards. Ours is the Mad Cossack, but the F4U 1A that I just showed you, that is actually a relatively new casting from Johnny Lightning. Whereas the P-51 here is not so new of a casting, just a new paint scheme for this year. So our fun facts for this guy, it says, let me put it so you guys can read it too. There we go. The 458th participated in the group's first VLR, or Very Long Range Mission, to Japan on May 28, 1945. A strafing attack on Kasumigura Airdrome on Honshu. Okay, that's a mouthful. The high-performance, high-altitude fighter was armed with 650 cal Browning machine guns, like we said, with a total of 1,880 rounds inboard and outboard. So just basically a flying machine gun battery, if you will. This thing was an absolute monster of an aircraft. And as you can see, this variation, this is Anything Goes. We do have some scorch marks on the wings and from the exhaust. So apparently he was running really rich and firing extremely high powder loads, or he's just been shooting all day. Personally, I'd kind of prefer it if it didn't have those on there. It just kind of takes away from the plane for me. I don't know. It's a little, whatever. As you can see here, though, we do have fuel tanks under the wing of each aircraft. Those are not bombs. Those are auxiliary fuel tanks used for those VLR, or Very Long Range Missions, that we just mentioned. Okay, we do have some rotation in our propeller there. That one a little bit. The propellers do not really seem to spin super freely, but they do kind of rotate, so that's good enough, I guess. And this is Anything Goes was this one's name. Very nice looking airplane. So we'll park that up there, and we'll bring over our D-Day invasion guy. If you look very closely, focus and zoom. Across his nose cow there, this guy's been pretty busy. Each of these little crosses here, although historically speaking, those would probably be swastikas. But I can understand round 2 not wanting to put swastikas on a toy airplane. Those would normally be swastikas, and these are basically just kill counts. You would, every time you shot down a German fighter, you would draw a swastika on your plane as a way to keep count of how many you would shot down. Bombers would, you know, they'd draw a little bomb or something on their plane to keep count of how many bombing missions they've been on. Wow, it even has the name of the pilot under the cockpit there. It's a little bit pretty much impossible to read. But you can just about make out the name of the pilot under the cockpit there. There's a little blemish in the decal there on our D-Day stripe in the back. I wonder if I could take a paint pen and touch that up, though. I could probably fix that. But, what does this say? Cripes Almighty 388. Some other stuff written on there. I can't quite make out what that all says, though, I'll be honest. My eyes are not quite that good. It is bare on this side, so it doesn't really say anything over here. Very, very good looking aircraft. Absolutely love it. So we'll go ahead and zoom back out. We'll pull our card over here. This guy is part of the D-Day 75 years, June 6, 1944. Same series as the P-47s. As you can see, there's our friend, the P-47 Thunderbolt Razorback. And here's our P-51D Mustang from this series. And there's some of the other stuff that was available in 2018, release number 3. And this is, this is the same card as the P-47s. So we'll go ahead and flip it over and check out our great facts. It says the P-51D Mustang was an Allied workhorse praised for its speed, visibility, maneuverability, and range. Visibility, I guess, because it had the bubble cockpit. Black and white invasion stripes identified Allied aircraft on D-Day. There you go, like I said. The top portions were removed soon after the invasion. So I guess they took these off the tops of the wings, but they left them on the bottoms. Our top portions were removed soon after the invasion. I wonder if that has something to do with my weird decals on the P-47, or I wonder if that is just a blemish. Anyway, so there are our two P-51D Mustangs. And again, I don't think I'm going to have room for these guys in the parking garage. So I will take you up to my newly built Johnny Lightning aircraft shelf. All right, guys, here we are up on the wall. This is my newly installed aircraft shelf. So on the left here, starting off, we've got our two P-47 Thunderbolts, followed by our three P-40 Warhawks, our one single F4U 1A Corsair, and then our two P-51D Mustangs down here on the end. And then I have my little Mid-Atlantic Air Museum patch pinned on there. If you guys are ever in PA, definitely check out the Mid-Atlantic Air Museum. It's a really cool place. They have a World War II reenactment every year, which is actually where I got the footage for the introduction of this video. So if you're wondering how I got black and white footage of a P-51 and a P-40 flying together, that was at the Mid-Atlantic Air Museum's World War II weekend this past summer. So little fun fact there, but that is my newly created Old Greg's Commemorative Air Force shelf. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the airplanes. If you think we should add more planes. I know Johnny Lightning's got a new P-47 and a new P-40 paint schemes coming out very soon. So those would be really cool to check out. I would love to get my hands on them. And let me know if you guys want to see them. So like I said, leave a comment, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.